Alright, welcome everybody to this lesson. We're just gonna get started with the Unity UI system. And the Storyboard UI kit, which is a great asset that we uploaded to the Unity App Store, we work with our custom Unity UI, which is dependent on our custom event system. So right now we just want to work with a standard Unity UI system, and we're just gonna build everything from scratch. I mean, we're gonna try to work with standard band, with standard images, with standard canvas. So first, what do we mean by canvas? If we go here and create a new UI element by going here, for example, create a new button, just gonna create a new canvas. And notice the canvas here got something called anchor point, or let me say the pivot point. We have pivot point, and we have something called anchors, and also we have basically scale, and we have width and height. We have position, but here we have something new. We have something called rig transform. Here in the background, for example, we have transform game object. And here inside the canvas, we have something called rig transform. And everything inside this canvas must be a rig transform. So if you go to the band here, you can see the band is rig transform. The text here is rig transform. So when you work with canvas, everything inside the game, canvas must be a rig transform component. And rig transform is just 2D game object. So if you go 3D and you click Alt on the keyboard, just move this way and this way, you can see just a 2D game object. You can see it here. So, but the main features of the canvas, let's just go back to 2D mode. The main features of canvas is the pivot and anchoring and the responsiveness. So right now, let's just go, for example, to the button here. And you can move the button here. Notice when you move the button, we have some sort of anchoring, and this item is there's a relationship between the pivot point, which is here, the blue point here in the middle, this point, and there's a relationship between this pivot point and the anchoring. And what do we mean by anchoring? Do you see these four gizmos here, the four triangles here? These are known as gizmos, and these are the anchors, and they are anchoring for this item. They are anchors for this element inside its parent. So what do we mean by that? Here, the button is child of the canvas. The text here is child of button. So once we use anchoring, we anchor this item for its parent. So we anchor this item inside its parent. Like if you go, for example, to this button here and just want to move these these anchor to the border of this item. Okay, so I just went to the button here and I moved the anchors, okay, to the border of the element itself. And this means when you're talking about anchoring, we mean by that this element gonna be scaled, gonna be resized. We have something called resize, we have something called scale. So generally we don't work with scale, we work with resizing. So when we talk about resizing, we talk about the width and height. And we're talking about scale, it's different approach. Normally we don't work with scale inside the UI, inside the rig transform. So I just anchored this element to its border, okay, to its border. So this is gonna make it responsive. So in case you wanna minimize the screen, maximize the screen, this game object will be responsive in your game. So this is a really great feature inside the anchoring system here in Unity. So the same thing inside this element. For example, if I go to the text here, and you can see the text is anchored to the border of the button. So you can notice that the text here is anchored to the button, and the button is anchored to itself. So what about if we anchor the button here, which is a rig transform component, we anchor it to the parent. So if I come here, and if I anchor it to its parent, let's see what's gonna happen. So once you anchor the element, the button for example, to its parent, which is the canvas, there must be a fixed border. So there is some kind of, the object is resizable with a ratio for its parent, but there's a fixed border between this area and this area. So there's some sort of border. This is another case of another case with using the anchor element with its within its parent, to the border of its parent. So most of the time, to make your life easier, put these anchors to the element in the border itself to make it responsive, to take a percentage of its parent. So this is the way that you can test your UI element by resizing, and as you can see here. Other option for text here, we have something called best fit. Notice here when we scroll a little bit, when we resize the game, when we make it bigger, you can see we have an option here called best fit. What do we mean by that? If you select this option, you can see that this is the best fit of the text. You resize it a little bit, you can see the font size and is best fitted, as you can see here. So this is something, other thing related to the text, but right now I'm not going to work with text right now. I just want to work with this element, and I'm trying to explain anchoring to you. Another thing here we got for the band, for example, you're gonna see here in the middle we have something called pivot point, and this pivot point is locked by default. So you can come, for example, to the center here and move this pivot point, for example, here, and you can come to each of the corners here for this item. If you come to this point and take a straight line format, you can move the item. So you can see we are rotating the item based on its pivot point, and this is a great feature. You can make animation about that. So you can move this anchor point anywhere inside the object or put it outside. So once you put it outside, which is just a rare, we didn't use this regularly. There's some certain cases we put this some sort of animation. You can put this outside the pivot point outside the game object, but most of the cases, guys, we put this pivot point in the middle of the game object. So you have here a great panel. You can come here, and once you click, for example, I want to center the anchor to the center, you're just gonna center them in the parent. So here the anchor gonna be in the center of the parent. All right, and if you click Alt on the same panel, if you click Alt on the keyboard, okay, you're just gonna get another option. This option is for the pivot point. So here we're trying to centralize the pivot point in the middle, but since the pivot point is not in the center of game object, so it must be in the middle here. So let's put it here 0.5, 0.5, which means this element is in the center of this pivot point in the middle of the element. All right, so I can come to the band, for example, and just reset it here. Okay, so this is basically the difference between the element here. You can, for example, if you want to put an element to the top of the screen, you click here, you click in the top here, and also you click Alt and click here. If you want to put the other side, you release Alt, click here, and click Alt again and click here. If you want to, for example, to make this button fill the screen, you just go to the button, and we have a stretch option here. Just gonna select stretch option, and after that click Alt and also choose stretch here. So you're just gonna stretch this object in the entire screen. So this is a great feature using the new UI system. This is just an introduction, guys, for the UI system. I hope you just like this lesson. We're just gonna continue in the next part and just do some damage in this project. So see you in the next video, guys. Thank you again for watching.